Title: The Screen Wakes. Samantha had always loved movies. Ever since she was a little girl, she spent her weekends curled up on the couch, a blanket wrapped around her, absorbed in fantastical worlds and larger-than-life characters. The thrill of horror flicks particularly captivated her. The adrenaline rush of ghostly apparitions and the relentless pursuit of monsters by the protagonists sent chills down her spine in the best way. One rainy Friday night, as the wind howled outside, Sam decided to binge-watch her favorite horror series, Nightshade Manor. The plot centered around a cursed mansion filled with vengeful spirits and the unfortunate souls who roamed its halls. She loved how the main characters challenged the paranormal with courage and cleverness. But tonight, something felt off as she settled in with her popcorn, the flickering glow of the TV casting eerie shadows around her dim living room. Dismissing the feeling as mere imagination, she pressed play. With each episode, she felt more engrossed. Thrilling visuals filled her mind, but unusually, they seemed to blur the line between fiction and reality. The characters' laughter, screams, and dramatic confrontations felt almost tangible. She shivered from the chill emanating from the screen, too engrossed to pause for a quick snack or bathroom break. Then came the climax of the series. The characters, armed with flashlights, entered the haunted corridor of Nightshade Manor, the air thick with tension as they faced the malevolent spirit, Alistair, who wielded his rage like a weapon. The scene was intense, dark and filled with spine-chilling music when suddenly, right as the characters confronted Alistair, a loud crash echoed through Sam's living room. Her heart raced, and she instinctively turned to see what had caused the commotion. To her horror, just as she glanced back, the characters had stepped out of the screen. Emerging from the TV like fog through a crack, they were no longer the vibrant actors who had once illuminated her screen. They became shadows of their former selves, draped in spectral robes with chilling hollows for eyes. Alistair, now fully corporeal and menacing, sneered with malicious glee as he flexed his fingers, ready to unleash terror. "Welcome to the real world, Samantha," Alistair hissed, his voice like nails scraping against glass. Panic gripped Sam as she realized the characters, her beloved protagonists, were not here to save her. Instead, they stared at her with longing desperation, twisted by their own horrors. Sam fumbled for the remote, a tremor in her hands, but it slipped through her fingers and clattered to the floor. "You should have never invited us in," a voice behind her whispered. It was Rebecca, the brave heroine of the series, but her eyes were hollow, her face twisted in sorrow rather than strength. "We thought we could escape our history. We should have never left the screen." Quote, "No, you're the heroes," Sam cried. But they were no longer heroes. They were pawns in a game woven by their dark master, Alistair. Suddenly, the room dimmed further. Alistair raised a hand, summoning shadows from every corner, ready to consume her. Sam gasped, backing away, her heart racing. "You can't do this." But as she retreated, the heroes she once loved turned on her, their faces twisted in a grotesque blend of sadness and rage. "We have become the very thing we fought against," one character moaned. "You made us real, Samantha, and now we are trapped." Quote, Sam's mind raced for a solution. Desperation clawed at her as she remembered how the series ended, how the characters performed a ritual to weaken Alistair. If she could recreate it, perhaps she could send them all back. "Listen," she shouted over the growing chaos. "We can still fight, we just need to." "Too late," Alistair interjected with a booming laugh, as tendrils of darkness reached out, coiling around her feet. "Just trust me," she shouted, thinking back to the words from the last episode, the ritual they'd performed together. "We need to bind him." Drawing on all her courage, Sam began chanting the lines she barely remembered, muddled words from the show. As the characters hesitated, confusion flickering across their faces, she saw a glimmer of recognition in Rebecca's eyes. "Focus," she urged them. "When I finish, together we can force him back." With that, Sam poured every ounce of belief and hope into her words. The shadows writhed in protest. Alistair's laughter turned to rage. As she summoned the last incantation, the room flickered and trembled with energy, and the air around them electrified. A blinding flash erupted, engulfing the room in brilliance, and she felt the pull of both worlds. A rift opening, and in a heartbeat, the shadows recoiled from her, retreating into the light. Before Sam knew it, She was alone again in her living room, the screen dark and silent, the haunting echoes of Nightshade Manor fading into memory. She hugged her knees, quivering at the thought of what had just happened. Maybe it was all a nightmare, but as the credits began to roll on the screen with a flicker, she wondered if some horrors were better left in the dark.